What's going on, world? This is your girl, Marky Lemons-Ryhal, and now is the time for us to get our sales in order. And guess what? We got the sales doctor with us. I think he is going to cure us today. And we have Chet Lovegren with us today, who is going to. We had an interesting conversation, and I already agree with everything that you're saying. So for realtors out there, real estate professionals, those that have a job that requires them to sell, what is your sales philosophy?
I think all right. So I'm going to say this, and it's funny because I train a lot of teams that do outbound. So they're making cold calls and stuff like that. I think you have to kind of separate the buckets of when you think of lead acquisition and sales specifically is kind of BS. Like you're not just going to ultimately like convince someone right off the bat. You may call someone cold and get them to have a conversation to whatever extent your process looks like. But I think that it's the power of marketing and how you're able to market that actually warms someone up and gets them ready to have a sales conversation. To what extent do you speak the same language? Have you established trust? Well, how do you build trust before you even get on the phone with someone? I think a lot of it is through creating content. One of the reasons that I use the plumber at my house that I do is because he has a TikTok account and he shows things like, hey, this is something that a company will charge you $99 for, right? I can show you how to do it. It's like free handyman training. Because then I know that when I have something that I know I can't solve, like the hose on my sink being broken and my dishwasher flooding at my house at 9:00 on a Saturday night, guess who I'm going to call for emergency service? I'm going to call that person. You know what I mean? And so I don't have to go through a phone book. I don't have to go on Google. I don't have to look and try to find someone. I already have someone top of mind. So that solves that speed to resolution problem that a lot of people face when they do want to buy something or procure someone for services. Is creating content, creating educational content, adding some humor, but getting people to know who you are, speaking the same language, having them understand your personality a little bit better, I think is what really warms people up so that when they are in the time to buy or to do whatever they need that would use your services, they're already like, oh, I know who I'm going to use. If you should always be thinking if someone ever had to do the perform the task associated with the problem that I solve, would I be the first person they think of? And that's what I try to accomplish with my own content.
So let me say this. So you know that I'm a big AI chat GPT person. That is my boo thing, right? That I'm cheating on my husband with all things chat GPT related, has me tiptoeing into the bedroom late at night. What I've done is taken a look at my year over year numbers as a result of now using AI in my business, going back to the month of January. In the month of May, we hit a new stride. We saw a 261% increase in our productivity. And as a result, we saw a 283% increase in our income. So because I use Grammarly every week, I'm seeing how many words that Grammarly is checking on my behalf. So I know that it checked 261% more words, or better yet, more content, blog posts, video scripts, emails, doing substantially more email marketing, right? So what I am telling people in the world of real estate right now, because I make the assumption that everybody wants to earn a minimum of $100,000 per year in personal income if they sell real estate, bare minimum, that they need to put out 32,000 words of content every single month. So not only am I telling them to strategically reach out to 8 people by 8 a.m. based on their family, their occupation, their recreation, and their dreams. I'm saying if you don't do that, I need you to put out roughly 1,000 words of content every single day where you are solving buyers and sellers' problems and being connected to the community in which you say that you serve. So when you came in with the whole content on sales, they might think that I paid you to be here, and I did not, because you are validating the fact that they need content. Now, keep going, because I like what you're talking. What you're talking.
Yeah, well, I mean, content is king. I could say content is also queen too. No present company excluded. I think that phrase needs to change a little bit with the times, right? But it is really cash in your pocket. And look, like, okay, so Marky, why do most people not create content? I'm sure you know the answer. And anything you say is probably going to check one of the 3 main boxes, but
they don't have the time.
Okay.
They don't know what to create content about.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with those because guess what? At this point, there's really no cost barrier to creating content. So we can take that as an excuse. That's no longer an excuse. Not with artificial intelligence and all these free tools. So I'm gonna say time and knowledge. What's the number one though?
Well, number one, I would say is time. That's the most common response I've heard. The other thing is I don't know what to talk about or how to structure it or how to do it. Like, even if I had the time, what would I talk about? And then there's all this imposter syndrome. So there's a lot of factors, but the biggest is really time. Look, I have 2 podcasts. I have a consulting business. I have 2 companies I'm a fractional sales leader for. I have 3 different levels of sales programs that I run. I have 3 kids. I have a life. I like to play video games with my friends from overseas that are serving in the military when they have time. I do all that. I fulfill my entire life. And I still sit around like a couch potato on Sundays watching football all day. It's because you do have the time. Time is the worst. I don't have the time is the worst excuse that anyone can ever give. You got to take time to make time. I know people that are creating a weekly blog, 5 weekly short form videos, a weekly newsletter, a couple LinkedIn posts, some Twitter posts, all from one piece of an hour's worth of content. So my strategy is really simple. One of the things I do is I have a keystone piece of content. It's a 60-minute piece of content. What I do is then I transcribe it. I take that transcription, and this is all with the help of AI tools as well. I take that transcription, I turn that into a blog post. I take 40% of the most important pieces of that blog post that I'm already publishing on my website, and I send that out as a weekly newsletter to my list of subscribers. I'm taking the 3 key points from that 2.5-minute weekly newsletter, and I'm turning that into a LinkedIn carousel. I'm taking each key piece of that LinkedIn carousel, each of the 3 important pillars, and I'm making each of those a daily text post on LinkedIn and Twitter. I'm then creating a short form video script based on each of those individual pieces. So that's 3 short form videos. And then I'm doing a 4th short form video by doing one that encapsulates all 3 of those pieces. And so now I'm posting at least, not even just every day, but at least every other day on some format. And it's all from one piece of content. So even if you don't want to record video content, you just want to create a blog, you can still get a weekly newsletter, a LinkedIn carousel post, 3 LinkedIn text posts, 3 tweets, and then even create a short form video in 3 different ways, cover each of the pillars, and then do one that encapsulates all the 3 pillars. The really funny thing is actually I have about a video library of 60 short form videos, and I've published those videos over and over and over again. And nobody remembers because I cut 2 camera angles. This is a little bit more technical, but I basically created 60 short form scripts and I did 2 angles. One was just talking into one camera. One was talking to the other camera. And the first time around, I published all the short form videos with all the flashy editing and the subtitles and everything with camera angle 1 for 60 days, 1 video a day for 60 days. Then I did the same thing, but with the second camera angle. It's the same video, just different camera angle. And I did that 60 days. And then after that 60 days, my next 60 days, I posted one that melded the 2 together. So it was a little bit more engaging. People don't know that the thing that I'm talking about on day 20 is the same thing I've already talked about 3 other times because it's shot a little bit differently because I set up multiple cameras. So I spent 1 week for 10 hours recording 60 short form videos, and I didn't have to record content again for almost 6 months. So it's about like, how can I optimize what I'm doing with the time that I'm given? And then there's a lot more stuff we can talk about, well, how do I even know what to talk about and all that stuff? But from a technical perspective, there are ways you can take 1 hour of content and turn it into a week's worth of content for multiple platforms that you're using.
Now, let me say this, because I've been repurposing content. I want to say five solid years. The freaking multiple camera thing is genius, right? Because I'm sitting here right now and I'm thinking to myself, and no one has ever said it, I have 2 cameras sitting right here. Actually, I have 3 because one is not attached, that I could have put one over here. The AI is telling me what's the most valuable content, right? So then I take this 60 days, and then the two together for 60 days. That's a year. That's a half a year.
Yeah.
And you created that content in what, an hour to 90 minutes? You did both?
I could probably record 6 videos in an hour, but I've done this for a while. So I'd say a new person should be able to do it in 3 hours. I'm sorry, 3 videos in an hour. Half of that, because I think I've upped the speed and I just kind of know what I'm talking about. But again, the cool thing too is, like, let's say you have like an Ali Abdaal transition style on your short form video, which is like the paper crumpling in the background, little cutouts spinning out with little thing overlays over them. I mean, you can hire someone on Fiverr or Upwork to make you one of those for $20. And so the trick is that, like, when you send the video, those transitions all stay the same. The only thing that changes is the video pieces. When it's all B-roll footage, that all stays the same. Well, guess what? When you're repurposing your content, you used camera angle 1. Well, then you're doing the same thing. You're just making camera angle 2 visible when the video spots are showing up. And then the third time around, you're just doing a hybrid of the two. You know what I mean? Where it's like camera angle 1 for the first camera shot, camera angle 2 for the next one. And it just makes things so much easier because, yeah, like you said, you almost get like 6 months worth of content. The way I first started it was I just did point and shoot with my phone, because I found some of the biggest sales TikTok content creators were just getting great results, just shooting out of the phone, pressing, saying one line, different angle, pressing, saying another line, different angle, pressing, saying another line. And then I took those, I basically retranscribed them, rewrote them all following a solid framework. And then now, you know, after we have created the videos the way that we did, we're just going to publish the same content. It just looks different because it's a different camera angle, and people aren't going to remember. You know, the people that loyally follow me, it's going to be a healthy reminder to them. They may have been like, oh, I heard him talk about this before, but there's so much that people talk about. Maybe it's like he's saying it in a different way. They're not going to remember word for word. And ultimately, my goal with content, I want to continue. I don't necessarily create content for the people that already follow me. If those people want to engage with me on a higher level, I bring them into like one of my sales programs, right? That's where you get fresh and new stuff. I purely use marketing or content as like a marketing for new eyeballs. That's how I think about it. So I want people that are engaging with me to keep getting value out of engaging with me. But ultimately, you have to pay me for my time. So if you want fresh and new and innovative and perspective content, you either got to tune into someone's podcast that I'm a part of, or you got to go join one of my programs and be a part of that community. And that's where you get that added value, because you got a little bit of value when you were part of my marketing initiative, when I was creating more generalized, pretty high level educational content. But then you want, I want more. So I'm going to start following them. Oh, video 8 resonated. Oh, video 12 resonated. Oh, video 15 resonated. How do I get the secret sauce? Well, here you go. These are the levels of secret sauce you can purchase. And then they can go through there, because I'm trying to acquire customers, right? It's a lead acquisition strategy. But you can really knock it out of the park. A half a year's of content in 10 hours if you really tried.
Wow. So I love that idea. Now I have a reason to really use all of these different cameras. So I'm looking here. We're going to set that up when we get back.
Yeah.
Because I love that idea. And I love the fact of repurposing. But one, even the camera, you said TikTok. So you've referenced TikTok a couple of times. I'm not on TikTok. However, I can tell that you have a fresh perspective because you are on TikTok. So what is something else that TikTok has taught you that you did not previously know based on your past?
Hooks for short form media. Do you know how painstakingly long 5 seconds actually is? We think we can't create a 2-second hook. Let's do this exercise real quick. Okay. Here's how painstakingly awkward 5 seconds is. Because they say your hook should be 2 seconds, maybe 3 seconds, you're pushing it. Average TikTok video, viewers leave within 1.9 seconds. So just think about attention span there. So when you think of how painstakingly long 5 seconds actually is when people are trying to get their hook and their point across, we'll do it together. Ready? Boom. You see how much silence was there? And so when people think about, like, that's really daunting to people too, is to create a hook in 2 seconds. 2 seconds is a lot faster and 5 seconds is a lot longer than you really think it is. And so creating great hook strategies. If you are on TikTok or using short form media, I'll give this one for free away to everybody. Here are 2 incredibly great viral hook examples. I don't think people understand ... And am I the only one who didn't know X? Those are two of the best performing hooks that I have. I don't think people understand how, or what was the one I did the other day? It went viral. We did. I don't think people understand how top sellers actually sell. And the whole thing was about the fact that top sellers, in my experience, from what I've seen, aren't even like these incredible Jordan Belfort, Wolf of Wall Street type salespeople. They're actually just really good at time management, process, and coming every day with energy and conviction to stay consistent. I saw this thing, this meme online, and it was like expectation versus reality. And it was like a big fire emoji day 1, big fire emoji day 2, big fire emoji day 3. And like the fire got bigger and bigger. And then it was like reality of failure. And it was like big fire emoji day 1, no fire day 2 and 3, little fire emoji day 3, nothing for the rest of the days. And that's the truth about consistency. I'd rather have a small fire. I'd rather have a tiny little bit of energy and conviction every day throughout 30 days than to be like really motivated on a Wednesday. And I'm going to get my stuff together. It's middle of the week. I really need to hit it hard, or even starting really hard on a Monday and then fizzling out by Friday. I would rather do a little bit of action every day than a ton of action one day and then nothing else. And so that's a similar thing with TikTok that I found that I used in that hook was like top sellers, like aren't these people that are making 100 cold calls every single day. They're people that will go commit to, like you said, call 8 people by 8 a.m, reach out to 8 people by 8 a.m. 8 people is such a small amount of people. It's such a doable thing. That's probably why it works for you. It's because it's such a small thing. And then you set the deadline by 8 a.m, because as we all know, a goal without a plan is just a wish. And a goal without a deadline is nothing more than a facade to believe in ourselves that promise of tomorrow will always be better. So I love that you have that. I have that. You like that one. That's why I always tell people that you're just giving yourself a facade that tomorrow is going to be a better time to do it. But it is. That's probably why it works for you. It's such an easy thing to accomplish. 8 people. That's not even double digits yet. It's very achievable. I probably talk to 8 people that don't add any value to my life by 10 a.m. every day indirectly, through texting or LinkedIn message. Yeah, exactly.
No value,
so it's like,
right?
Go get that values.
One thing that you just said was consistency, right? So we just delivered our 150th episode, and, a lot of people come and go. Thank you. Come and
That's
go.
Amazing.
We're going to do a podcast. We're going to do a podcast. We're going to do a podcast, right? And everybody out the gate running like a thoroughbred. Woo, right? And I don't know the number, but I think the average person puts out less than 10 episodes of a podcast, right? Because they're not going to be consistent. And my son, he's in real estate. He's 27. He said to me, so Mom, you mean that I have to do boring tasks consistently? I was like, yes. I was like, and the boring task is what makes you the money. And so, yes, you strategically reaching out to 8 people by 8 a.m., sitting down and crafting content, coming up with 1,000 words per day. Those 2 strategies alone can make a person, if their average sales price is $250,000 in the world of real estate, can make you $200,000, right? And the reason that I've consistently earned 6 figures is because I've consistently generated leads every single day. To me, social media made it easy. So if I was to go back 24 years ago when I came into real estate, my automobile was wrapped. I had bus benches in a city that has snow on them 6 months out of the year, right? Coming from Chicago. Billboards to me are obsolete because people don't drive and look up. People drive and look down because they're distracted by their mobile device. And then I had a classified ad in the back of the Sun Times. So everything that I was doing, I think is antiquated today. And if we don't consistently pay for it, right, we don't get any returns. But when you think about video content, it's still there. It's still going to be there 2, 3, 4 years later. And let's say that platform no longer exists. We should have it in our arsenal to put it back up again. So it's a gift that content is the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, it's evergreen. And to your point, not only are those methods of advertising antiquated, but now it's all free with more eyeballs, right? If you were on my dad was born and raised in Blue Island, so I should know because I didn't go to Chicago enough as a kid. But what's the interstate? I-95, is that the one that goes up, or a 90, whatever? Okay, so if how many people drive along that, you're kind of capping your opportunity. Whereas you have the infinite amount of anybody who's ever downloaded the TikTok app and uses it on occasion to be able to have them see your TikToks or YouTube shorts or Facebook or whatever platform. You should be on multiple platforms. That's also a thing I'm a believer in. But it's, yeah, like you're reaching an infinite amount of people as opposed to whoever's literally passing by that best bus bench at that time, in that season when the ad is actually visible. So that's probably another reason, like you said, staying consistent, that you've, now after embracing social media and the power that has, and a lot of it's free. Like you don't have to do Facebook ads and PPC right away. So a lot of free ability. TikTok has the best SEO engine out there right now. And it's why every single one of my TikTok titles is how to blank, because people will literally search that in TikTok. When I went to Vegas with my family, I was like, best restaurant for families on the Strip. So if somebody's putting the best Italian restaurant for families on the Strip when they're showing a video of the restaurant, that's going to search a lot higher when people are looking for that. And people underestimate the SEO of TikTok. It rivals Google. I mean, there's research out there that shows how incredible TikTok's SEO actually is in the platform. So, use it to your advantage.
So you mentioned attention, right? And we are in an attention society. Now, what state do you live in?
I live in California.
California. Okay. So let's have a talk about prime time, right? The man is genius, right? Because he has essentially changed college football because of his visibility. That team does not have to win another game this season. Okay. He sold $1.2 million in sunglasses in a day, $6.5 million in the sunglasses in a week. Glasses are on pre-order, right? He has changed. They said that his contract should have been $166 million versus the 20 whatever million he got. And what we're saying is, but he was creating content. He was creating content at Jackson State University. And when he brought his son with him, Deion Jr., Deion went from having 2 jobs to now overseeing their social media. And their social media has grown like 2,000%. He's put his son in a position, his whole family in a position that they will forever, all of them, be able to make money with Aflac, Kentucky Fried Chicken. But it comes back to content. And
we like him, but I know a lot of people that hate him. I know a lot of people that can't stand him. He had the largest amount of college athletes ever transition into the portal when he became coach. And that's great because that's attention grabbing. That's a headline. Why? Why is it? Is he actually putting rules in place? Do people not like his attitude? Do people hate that he brought his sons over to play? And they're like, oh, coach's kid, nepotism, whatever that might be. But it gets eyeballs. It gets people interested. It gets people following the storyline. Not to say go get the smoke. But that's the other thing is I think we feel imposter syndrome about the content we want to create and being true to ourselves and acting how we are. Who cares? Give me all the smoke. Like even if 99% of the world hates me, there's still 7 million people in the world, that 1% that I might actually be able to vibe with. And that's something I struggled with early on because my sales and sales leadership content is I say it's old school meets new school. I'm very like, yes, you should work hard. Sales is a number game. And now, like ever since we went COVID, there's, especially in like the tech sales world where I operate a lot in, there's a lot of work from home, empathy, take time off. Like, and I agree with a lot of that stuff, but it's also like people sometimes leverage that as a reason to not perform. Oh, well, I just haven't been feeling myself. I've been going through a personal struggle. And so in like my leadership course, I always say when someone's like scapegoating their performance on like personal struggle, ask them 3 simple questions. Okay, well, do you want to work through this? Yes. Okay. Are you ready to work through this? And then number 3, how do we hold each other accountable to this? Because it's, if you want to work through this, great. I'm here to work with you. If you don't want to work through this, it's very simple. Let's talk to HR and figure out what an FMLA policy is, or if severance is the best option. Like, because you're just outright saying, I don't want to work through this. And if you do say you want to work through this, then are you ready to? Meaning, do we do it now, or do we go talk to HR and see if you need an extended leave policy until you're ready to come back and work towards this? And then if both of those are yes, then that typically means, in my opinion, you are scapegoating your performance based on something that may or may not exist, because we also don't know either. Like I try to believe the best in people, but great example. I had the sales call with this person, and it just so happened that the 3rd time that they ditched us, they came up with this reason where it's like, that would be morally awful if that was a reason you were just saying, but it's also 3rd time's the charm. You know what I mean? The first time someone calls you a horse, you cry about it. 2nd time you punch someone in the face, third time you go shopping for a saddle kind of thing. And it's like, that would be a terrible thing if this person was lying and just wanted to get out of the meeting. But it's also like, what a weird coincidence that we know what we're having to talk about in this next conversation, and you've avoided it 2 times before, and now you're not showing up to this call. So it's one of those things where it's like, you can kind of understand it, but people hate that because they go, oh, that's toxic and that's very straightforward and it's aggressive. And it's like, well, sometimes people need that. Not everyone had, Texas justice growing up. And sometimes people need to remember that, like, hey, especially in sales, this is not a participation game. This is a performance game. And we have to rise to that. I mean, I rise to that as an entrepreneur. I was feeling so tired today, and we talk about consistency. I would have loved to have gotten my Starbucks, sat on the couch, watched some sports talk about what happened yesterday in the NFL, maybe, geeked out on LinkedIn for a little while today, and not had to do all the things I've had to do today already. But if I don't do those things, then my kid's going to go, why can't I play basketball in this league? And I have to go play basketball at the YMCA instead of the Premier Winter League. Well, I can't pay the $500 registration fee because I didn't close the deal because I was, too worried about the way that I felt instead of what I needed to accomplish. And so that's that doesn't vibe with everyone though, but I'm okay with that. And I let that speak through in my content. So I get people all the time that are like, wow, I'm actually impressed at how great your like TikTok and YouTube content is. But on LinkedIn, it feels like you underperform. And I'm like, yeah, because LinkedIn is an echo chamber of pat everyone on the back and tell them they're doing great, even if they're just being lazy and not. And I don't vibe with that. And I let that shine through. And that's why I don't get hundreds of thousands of impressions on LinkedIn, but I will on TikTok, because TikTok is more general to a larger audience. And so I get a lot of different people from there. But that's to the point of like imposter syndrome, consistency. You can't be afraid of what other people are going to think. You have to speak to what your true self is, because if I tried to do something different, it would be inauthentic. But I'm an old school salesperson who is young I'm young in age, but I'm old at heart. And so I realized the benefit of the two, between being an empath and new wave of leadership and remote work. But, with autonomy comes accountability. And if people can't meet that, that's what I train people on in my sales leadership courses, is we have to find that healthy balance of autonomy and accountability. And most people don't like that. And that's okay.
I love when you said it isn't participation, it is performance. Mm-hmm. If real estate associations or realtors, franchises, banks and title companies wanted to hire you, how do they find you and connect with you?
You can just you go to LinkedIn. I have everything tied in there. You can see all my website there, my social media channels. So just search Chet Lovegren. You'll see it says AKA the Sales Doctor and a little stethoscope emoji, or you can go to my website directly, www.thesalesdocrx.com. I have a whole resource page with the sales podcast we do, downloadable resources, videos, newsletter editions, blogs, all sorts of sales related stuff. It's fun. Really make your head spin. Some of it's too in depth. I got to clean it up.
Well, for those of you who want to grow your sales and be accountable, make sure that you reach out to Chet by going over to LinkedIn and or to his website. Content is key, and we must hold ourselves accountable. Thank you, guys.